The following program is a sports handicapping show. That's right, we will be discussing sports betting and all kinds of other gambling stuff, including game predictions. As you know, not every bet will win, but we do our best. Feel free to use this information at your own risk, and remember, wager wisely, folks.
Broadcasting from the Vegas Video Network studios, live from the Las Vegas Strip, Covers.com presents Vegas SportsDay. And now from the sports betting capital of the world, here are your hosts, Teddy and the Professor.
Friday in Sin City, and you are watching the weekend preview edition of Vegas SportsDay, the pulse of the sports betting world. I'm your host, Teddy Covers, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, the Professor, Dave Malinsky, who every day manages to look at me with such a glance as I'm doing this opening, like he's throwing up in his mouth while I'm talking. What's going on, Dave? Why so grumpy?
Here's the problem. If this is a new trend and it becomes wah, wah, wah Wednesday, I'll be the one doing the wah, wah, wahs because I'll be crying. Coming up today, we're going to blow the whistle on some key college basketball handicapping details for Saturdays that you may not be thinking about. You need a hotel room in Indianapolis this weekend? It takes more than magic to be able to get one. And after losing a game of biblical proportions last year, this time around we think a team is ready to cross the Jordan.
So, first take for a Friday, Dave. What did you see last night that you want to share with our viewing audience?
Something great to talk about and difficult to quantify. Buy signals. We talked about this a couple of days ago, that memorable loss that we had as a play of the day, Denver at Memphis. Grizzlies had lost several games in a row, playing poorly, on the verge of losing again in overtime. And let's go back and reset that for you. They're down 4, a minute and a half left in overtime. Denver gets a turnover. It's going to lead to a fast break. Ty Lawson, maybe the fastest guy in the NBA with the ball, going to the basket. Looks like an easy 2. Denver's going to go up 6, game over. But at a time when his team was literally at their low point of the season, Rudy Gay chased Lawson down. He blocked the shot. Not only blocked it to prevent the 2 points, but blocked it in a way it went off the backboard. Memphis gets a fast break the other way. They score. They cut it to 2. They win that game. Those are the little things we talk about where major shifts can happen. These are the plays, the things, Shakespearean takes that we do. But what did Memphis do immediately after that? They went on and played their best game of the season last night, beating a good Atlanta team on the road wire to wire. Those little subtle buy signals are something we look for every day in every sport. We'll pass a lot of them along to you as we uncover them. Party night tonight.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Munch Bar? Are you going to do any of that?
I don't know. We'll see how the party flows. I'm not planning on it, but
I hope they have security there just in case.
Just in case what?
Just in case someone needs to be thrown out.
Which someone? Are you talking about me? I'm not getting kicked out of the party tonight.
Just a hypothetical.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see how much drinking I do, but I don't plan on being thrown out of the party tonight. We'll talk about that at the end of this segment. But a first take for a Friday, I'm going to talk about first quarters because it might be the single funniest thing you're ever going to find in Las Vegas. Super Bowl Sunday. First quarter of that game, Tom Brady's going to miss somebody, and you're going to hear 50 people in the crowd. Brady, you suck. What's wrong with you? Oh, I can't believe I bet the Patriots. Or Eli Manning's going to fumble a snap and have to fall on it. They go, Manning's the worst. Oh, my God, why did I bet the Giants? First quarter, you relax. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't watch a lot of first quarters. NBA, college basketball, the first 10 minutes. NFL, I will watch some first quarters. But just take last night's play of the day as a prime example. We used Arizona and Cal over the total. You watch the first 10 minutes of that ball game. There weren't a whole lot of fireworks. You didn't see either team shooting the ball particularly well. You didn't see the pace at the level that you wanted. If you're watching that game and you have an over ticket, you're not dead, but you're not feeling really good about your wager. And by halftime, it was a dead nuts over, problem solved. The pace picks up, the shots stop falling. So I guess my point is, relax. First quarter is not something to freak out about, and certainly not something to start losing your cool when good players don't live up to expectations early on in the ballgame. When it comes to final results for an NBA game or even a college basketball game, those first 10 or 12 minutes they really don't have a huge impact on what happens when it comes to final scores.
Sure. You're telling them to chill out, relax, and now in 60 seconds, you're going to tell them to go bet the opening kickoff. Yeah, relax, guys. It's a long game. But, oh, by the way, go bet the opening kickoff. Okay.
Well, that's Super Bowl. I mean, Super Bowl has unique things to it. And, of course, yeah, there's some little football game being played in Indianapolis on Sunday. And we've done about 40 minutes of airtime this week. We've talked about the side. We've talked about the totals. We've talked about the props. And if you haven't seen those shows or you were looking for Super Bowl information, of course, the Tuesday show, Market Watch, we did extended takes on side and total of that ballgame. That's available as a separate download as well. You can watch it as part of the Tuesday show. Yesterday's show, we went through and did prop recommendations, and you can find that if you want to download yesterday's show if you haven't seen that. So all the information is out there. And, of course, here's a quick recap if you don't feel like downloading anything. Prediction. My game prediction here was Patriots 30, Giants 27. I gave out 3 props on yesterday's show. The first kickoff will be a touchback at minus 175. That kind of requires some extended analysis, but if you want to hear the thought process behind that wager, go back and check it out on yesterday's show in Money Time. Of course, and I also had 2 other proposition wagers, both of which were tied to my thought process that this is going to be a close game start to finish. I played the game will be tied after 0-0. That's a slight plus price on that wager. You can return 11 for your $10 bet. And, of course, I also bet will there be an overtime, something that is 0-45 in previous Super Bowls at plus 850 in a game that is absolutely, on paper, a very competitive matchup in a playoff year where we've already seen 2 games go to overtime and a third one that should have gone to OT, not go there because Billy Cundiff couldn't hit a field goal. But the bottom line is I don't think that plus 850 is the appropriate number on that prop this year. I got a piece of that in my pocket. So that's what I came to the table with Super Bowl-wise. Dave, what about yourself?
From the right side of the table, literally, Giants 27-24. I give you some Giants and some under that you can work with here. And actually 4 props. We're going to grab 3 of them. But if you saw a postmortem yesterday, we also talked about Kelly Clarkson going over the 134, which we think is a bad line. But a little added bit of inside information here. She's also going to be singing that anthem Sunday with a children's choir from Indianapolis. Even more reason to maybe stretch that out a little bit. In terms of the props, we got a few that we're going to take a good look at here. Eli Manning's first pass incomplete plus $1.75. Don't be surprised. Play action. Deep throw early instead of the quick dink and dunk. They may gamble. Makes value on that prop. The no special teams or defensive touchdown. Yeah, we'll lay $1.75. These teams only allowed 4 special teams or defensive touchdowns between them all season. We'll take Darren Williams, his Saturday night matchup against the Knicks, his points and assists plus 2.5 against the Brandon Jacobs rushing yards. We don't see Jacobs being a big factor at all in this matchup. Williams, though, a big issue on Saturday night. And when we get to our Insider Six-Pack, we're going to talk even more about his impact against New York.
Yeah, and in fact, Dave, that prop looks a good bit better even now. And it looked good yesterday, but it looks even better now when we start to look at that Nets injury report. We'll talk about that in Insider Six-Pack today. But for now, it's not just a football weekend. There's plenty of money to be made between now and kickoff on Sunday. Let's get to the mailbag and set some of it up. Here's an email we got from Andrew. And Andrew says, first of all, awesome show. Thank you, Andrew. Looking forward to the live cast each day. Dave and I are too. We wake up all psyched to get on air every morning. Here's the question. On a packed Saturday college hoops day with approximately 100 games to wager on, we know that there are deals and advantages to be found. With that said, where do you begin when sorting through 100 games to find those line advantages? From the low-end matchups to the top 25. Should we be focusing on only a select few games, or should we be placing full unit wagers on many games if the advantages are there? Good question, Andrew. What's your answer, Dave?
Yeah, we'd like to do the full board whenever we could, but part of the difficulty is if you're on the West Coast, that means your Saturday alarm clock could be 4 or 4:30 on a college Saturday if you're going to go through all the newspapers, sort through all the injuries. Here's one thing, though, you will note that we do differently over time. We'll do a lot with these smaller conferences during the week, not as much on Saturday. And people said, why is it? Do you only focus on the better teams come Saturday? No, you learn your lessons in this endeavor in a lot of different ways. And we learned this one about 15 or 16 years ago. We're listening to a broadcast that James Madison's playing NC Wilmington on a Saturday afternoon, listening to the James Madison audio. We're betting Jerry Wainwright a lot. His NC Wilmington teams played good physical defense. We never quite figured out why on Saturdays they were necessarily better. And then something occurs to us that we hadn't thought about. The James Madison announcer, as always a home announcer, being upset because his team's getting pushed around and losing, saying, it's another typical Saturday in the Colonial. All of the good officials are somewhere else. And now a light goes off. And we researched and we found out what that means. During the week, these games are spread out Monday through Friday. You get a lot of good officials doing 3 or 4 games every week. Here comes Saturday now. All the conferences are playing. Well, what does the Colonial end up with? They don't get the better officials anymore. The ACC has them, or the Big East, or the SEC. The Colonial and some of these lesser conferences on Saturday have to reach out for a lot of high school officials. Guys who not only don't have as much experience at this level, but they don't know the players and the coaches either. And one of the great things about big-time college basketball, when you get into the Big East, the officials know the players and coaches. It helps them to call the game because they can anticipate a little more. So we deal a lot of the lesser conferences from the bottom of the deck on these Saturdays. We get rid of them because there's a randomness that officiating brings into play.
Yeah, and for me, I have the exact same process every day, whether it's a college basketball Saturday with 100-plus games on the board or whether it's college basketball Monday with 5. This is what you do. You start at the top, and you go through the games one by one. For only, I don't do every conference. There are a lot of the added board conferences I don't get involved with. I don't get involved with the Ivy League very often. There's a handful of on-board conferences I don't do a lot with. But for every conference that I handicap, I'm going to just start at the top and go through every game. And step 1, open up the covers matchup pages. And open up my own personal notes where I've got notes on all these different teams and coaches and things where I'll be looking, notes that I've taken throughout the course of the year. Okay, this is a situation I want to be betting on this team, this situation I want to be betting against. So open up those 2 things, the covers matchup pages, and I'll go through every game, and my notes. And I'll take a look at what I have on the teams that I'm interested in. And from that, I create what I call my short list. Sometimes it's 10 games, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's even more than that. Then the short list is where you really have to start doing your work. That's when you start going through all the local papers. If you try to do everything for every team in every conference, physically, you just don't have the hours in the day to do it. So I'll go through, look at the matchup pages, find the matchups that intrigue me, and then start really breaking down those matchups one by one to find the best plays that are out there on the board.
If you're under the age of 40, you probably enjoy the way this lays out now, but to show you how difficult it was back when we first started doing this, when we come to the party tonight, we'll have every line posted for these games tomorrow, so you can do your advance work. But you know what? You go back 84, 1985, you wouldn't even see a college basketball line for these Saturday games till 11:30 Eastern time, sometimes a half hour before the first games go, and you'd only see the afternoon games. You'd have to call back in the night games. You wouldn't see them till 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, about 2 hours before. Much, much easier world, but you know what? If we have our laptops at the party tonight, you might see us sneaking off to the side, checking for line moves, getting a little bit of that work done. It is a good board out there tomorrow.
Who's kidding who here, Dave? You're going to spend the whole party hiding off in the corner doing your work. You want to engage Malinsky at the party tonight? And if you don't know what we're talking about, of course, we're talking about the Covers Super Bowl party right here in Las Vegas tonight, 7:30 at Caesars in the Munch Bar, right off from the Race and Sportsbook. That party from 7:30 to 9:30 tonight. No, I'm sure we'll see many of you there. But if you want to engage Dave tonight, you're going to have to go track him down in a corner. I'll be out shaking hands, kissing babies, that sort of thing. With Malinsky, he's going to be, I'm sure he's going to be in the corner doing work. That's what he does. He is the ultimate multitasker, and we give him credit.
Over under on babies kissed 1.5.
Yeah, sharp money's on the under.
Yeah.
All right. Great email, Andrew. Please keep those questions coming. Of course, we answer as many as we can on air. The email address, sportsday@covers.com. Follow us on Twitter, at Vegas Sports Day. And, of course, you should be involved in the community. There are active threads and discussions going right now. Talk about today's show. Talk about some of the concepts we're bringing up. Covers.com/posting forum.
Fab Melo, Harrison Barnes are some key guys you should already be thinking about for tomorrow's college basketball. We're going to tell you their status when we come back. You're watching Vegas Sports Day.
Are you looking for the latest odds, the fastest scores, the most important trends, and the best matchups and stats? Are you looking for the key late-breaking information that can make you a winner? Well, Covers.com has the answer. The world's largest sports betting community gives you a front row seat in the heart of the action, from the opening lines to the final scores. If you want to stay ahead of the game, Covers covers the numbers.
Hi, I'm Chris Phillips from Talk Tales, and you're watching the Vegas Video Network. And if you stop by the studio, our producer Scott's going to buy everybody a drink.
Super Bowl weekend in Vegas. We know y'all are going to be drinking. How about let's pop the top on today's Insider Six-Pack. We'll get started early. Crack a few brewskis before noon and get going with today's key information that you need to know. We're going to start in Dallas, where we've been talking about some of the issues with Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks quite often on this show. But his struggle to get back into playing shape is not the only issue that Dallas is facing right now. They were without Brendan Haywood and Lamar Odom in Wednesday's loss to Oklahoma City, while Sean Marion also left that game early with a knee injury, making it very, very difficult for head coach Rick Carlisle to develop any kind of on-court chemistry right now with so many different players, particularly in the front court, along with Jason Kidd in the backcourt, bouncing in and out of the rotation. And it's also likely to be an issue in the days and weeks to come. Dallas not about to get healthy right here, and Mark Cuban's wallet likely to get a good bit lighter over the course of the next few days. Of course, head coach Rick Carlisle got 2 tees in Wednesday's game, thrown out of the game early. And Cuban's comments following that, well, he's going to be writing a nice check to David Stern in the NBA for this quote. Quote, there's a lot of guys and teams that aren't having great starts to the season, and there are a lot of refereeing crews, that aren't having great starts to the season. The league needs to make some adjustments because you can't have it like this all the time. Dallas, more worried about the refs right now. They seem to be worried about their own personnel issues.
No one has more personnel issues to worry about, though, than Avery Johnson at New Jersey. When they beat Detroit on Wednesday, he was down to 7 players. That's it. It started bad from the start. Brook Lopez, not sure if they're going to get anything out of him this season. Then they lose Damian James for the rest of the year. Out for sure this weekend, Marshawn Brooks, Deshaun Stevenson. Likely out, Anthony Morrow and Mehmet Okur. The only injured guy they may get back on the court, Johan Preto. He's a body, but he's not a numbers guy. So a very, very tight rotation. We bring this up because we had talked about the Deron Williams prop yesterday. This actually enhances it a little bit. He's forced to take an even bigger role. He drove them to that win against the Pistons. Look for Williams to put up those nice numbers for us tomorrow night because he simply has to. But tough for Avery Johnson. It's probably going to end up being a wasted year and certainly not the way they wanted to build as they get ready to move to Brooklyn.
Here's a note worth filing away for Saturday night. A case of some poor planning by the NBA as they scramble to put their condensed, reduced schedule in place. When the Magic take the court in Indianapolis on Saturday, they'll be way out of their usual travel rhythm for a normal NBA road trip. There's a little event, what's it called? The Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Wherever there's a party, it's Caesars.
Exactly. And then there's also a pretty good big party in Indianapolis for Sunday's game. So because of that, hotel rooms rather scarce in Naptown this weekend. Frankly, they're completely booked. So the Magic, after playing at home against Cleveland tonight, they're going to be forced to make 2 trips. They're going to fly to Cincinnati after tonight's game, spend the night in Cincy, and then fly again to Indianapolis on Saturday. That's not exactly the type of itinerary a struggling team needs to be running into right about now.
Fab Melo is back for Syracuse, which could mean a return to the #1 spot in the national polls. Melo has been reinstated. He got that academic issue cleared up. Might see him right back in the starting lineup against St. John's tomorrow. One of the things that Jim Boeheim did, which is kind of interesting, and it showed his optimism that Melo would return, he kept him practicing with the team even though he missed the last 3 games. So a couple of things to note. A lot of times when we call courting advantages, we talk about games where there really isn't a home court. If you watch Syracuse and St. John's tomorrow in the Garden, you might actually see more Syracuse fans there. They will travel awfully, awfully well. If you live in Syracuse, a game against St. John's in the Garden is an excuse to spend a weekend in New York City. So you see a lot of Syracuse fans. There are a lot of alums live in New York anyway. Note Melo's numbers aren't necessarily that overpowering. 7.2 points a game, 5.7 rebounds. But the 3 games he missed, they lost to the spread by 28 points. His presence, because they don't have anyone else his size, in the middle of that 2-3 zone matters more than some of the numbers can measure.
We may not know until pregame warm-ups tomorrow whether projected NBA lottery pick Harrison Barnes is going to be available to go for the North Carolina Tar Heels versus Maryland on tomorrow afternoon. Barnes suffered a sprained ankle on Tuesday's win against Wake Forest and has not been able to practice since. Here's the issue for Roy Williams. Following this trip to Maryland, there's a little game for North Carolina against some team called Duke next Wednesday, and at another time might be an easy decision. Hey, sit Barnes, let's make sure that he's healthy for the bigger games. But having also recently lost Dexter Strickland, there's only 7 players in Roy Williams' rotation right now, averaging more than 10 minutes per game. Barnes leads the team in scoring, more than 17 points per game, 4.7 boards. He's got 22 assists, 27 steals. And if you watch this guy play, NBA lottery pick for sure, and perhaps NBA star down the road. So if he doesn't play, obviously a big, big loss for the Tar Heels.
We'll spend a lot of time in Six Pack over the next month looking at first meetings between college basketball teams to show how they can set us up for something good in the second. But then, okay, here comes Michigan State Sunday, a game you're going to want to bet before the Super Bowl, a game that also ties in to a lot of Super Bowl props. And you know what we found in the first box score? Nothing usable going forward because it was a remarkable game of extremes. Michigan wins that first game 60-59. Stu Douglas scores the winning points with 35 seconds left. Michigan State, no field goals the last 4:21. But look at some of these extremes that were in play. Michigan State wins the boards 31-18. It's about as big a dominance ratio as you'll find from a team that loses. 3-point shooting, Michigan State 7 for 15. Michigan, the winning team, only 6 for 21. Bench points, 30-7, also for Michigan State. So how do you have all those advantages and lose the game? A couple of wild swings in other directions. Michigan, 6 fewer turnovers. That's a pretty wide gap in a low-pace game. But maybe the most intriguing statistic of all, Michigan on 2-point shot attempts, 17 for 24. That is phenomenal against a physical Michigan State front court. Tough game for us to break down, so we'd like to help you on Sunday. Like, say, here's what should happen in the second meeting. No, in this one, we got nothing.
Up next, it's time to go to the Friday night basketball board. We're going to break down the NBA. Up next with Money Time.
This is David Ivey from Pub Crawl. It's funny because this is David from. You should just leave it on. Hi, I'm David Ivey from Pub Crawl, and you're watching the Vegas Video Network. And scene.
Livestream is your premier place to watch live events on the web, mobile devices, and connected TVs. See new events daily or broadcast your own at livestream.com. Livestream. Be there.
All right, guys, it's money time. This edition of Money Time is brought to you by Covers.com. Remember, for all the key information you need in every sport, Covers covers the numbers. Let's start by going to Philadelphia, where tonight the Miami Heat 2-point road favorites against the red-hot resurgent Sixers, 2 teams with identical records, but one team, Philadelphia, absolutely dominating everyone they play on this floor. The other team, Miami, well, they've lost straight up in Milwaukee and Denver and the Clips and the Warriors. They got non-covering road wins, barely escaping past Detroit, beating the Pistons by 3. They beat the T-Wolves, escaped with a 2-point win. Charlotte only winning by 1. Miami has not been the same team on the highway this year, Dave, and they certainly haven't been the same team when someone's actually playing defense on them.
We're finding out some interesting things about the Heat. They're the same in half court as they were last year. Yeah, all this pace and space, we're going to push, that's working. When they have to set up, you know what? It's still that same lack of a point guard. It showed in these Milwaukee games back-to-back. When Milwaukee beats you on your own court and literally punches you in the mouth last week without Andrew Bogut, you're supposed to come back with something in the rematch. They didn't. And what is the key there? Milwaukee gets out and guards aggressively. and with some passion. Miami doesn't like to be guarded. These guys want to get out. They want to run. They don't like contact. So Teddy had talked about those road issues. Let's break them down even more because this gets intriguing for tonight. Since they went on that West Coast trip in early January, just 1-4. The only win, that three-pointer at Detroit. Those 5 games, they get outscored 148 to 104 from the start of the fourth quarter on. That's a pretty big gap, and those weren't necessarily those tough of opponents. Even Detroit beats them in the fourth quarter. Earlier this week, Milwaukee annihilates them in the fourth quarter. Because the fourth quarter is when the game slows down. You've got to run your sets. Miami still doesn't have any. So now that becomes a big factor tonight. Who's number 1 in the NBA in defense? Philly. Not just number 1, but by a wide margin. We talk about that notion of points per 100 possessions, which we believe is the best measurement because that's counting your ability to force turnovers, your opponent's field goal shooting percentages. It's all incorporated there. Philadelphia, 3 points per 100 possessions better than any other team. Another close game in the fourth quarter. We might see Miami struggle again.
And, you look at the quotes from the Heat about some of these fourth quarter struggles, and it doesn't look like they have it all figured out. This is from head coach Eric Spoelstra. Quote, "There's a karma to the game. It affects oftentimes our offensive rhythm, and it affects our defense, giving up easy pick sixes the other way. If we're making a lot of mistakes, and it's going for a lot of easy baskets the other way, that will take the spirit out of a lot of teams, no matter how mentally tough you are, especially when those turnovers are unforced." Here's one from Shane Battier talking about Juwan Howard's quote, or locker room talk after their last loss. Quote, "I think Juwan said it best after the game. He said you have to honor the basketball gods. There are basketball gods that watch over this game, and if you disrespect them by playing bad basketball, by not moving the ball, by playing with a lack of force and speed, they end up punishing you at the end of the day, and that's what happened. If Miami's got some bad karma, Philly's got some good karma. We're talking about the team that is number 1 in the NBA, fewest turnovers, only 11.3 per game. No one else in the league is below 13.6. So that's, again, we talk about Philly on the defensive end, the edge they have over the NBA. Their offensive execution has been better than anyone else by a wide margin as well. Admittedly against a weaker schedule than most teams have faced, but nonetheless, Philly executing extremely well. Number 1 in the NBA in net turnovers, plus 3.9 turnovers per game. And number 1 in the NBA at assist-to-turnover ratio, 1.98 assists per turnover. No one else in the league above 1.64. Miami ranks number 16 in that same statistical category.
Let's go to Denver tonight. The Lakers playing at the Nuggets. Right now, Denver sitting as a 4-point favorite. Be the third go-round between two teams we expect to see in the Western Conference playoffs later. So we went back and obviously wanted to review the first 2 games first. You had that sound of the ball bouncing on the court, that dribble in the background. This was different. That clanging sound was balls going off the rims. They split the 2 games. Lakers win 92-89 at home. Denver the very next night, 99-90 in the rematch. But look at this shooting. 15 for 91 from three-point range. That's about as bad as it ever gets. Kobe Bryant, 12 for 46 in those 2 games. 1 out of 13 from three-point range. Now, a lot of times when we see pendulums swing like that, we want to think, okay, they've got to come back towards normal in the second encounter. Could we maybe see a little more offense tonight?
So I spent the entirety of yesterday's show calling the Hilton instead of the new name for the Hilton, which is the LVH. If I accidentally say Ron Artest instead of Meta World Peace, please forgive me. But bottom line is that the Lakers, with Meta World Peace on the floor as a starter for the last 2 games, well, he's been terrible, 32% shooting. And we're talking about a guy, 7 of 46 from three-point range this year. That's rough. 63% from the charity stripe. That's not particularly good. But as a starter in the last 2 games, replacing Matt Barnes, who'd been in the rotation, and at one point they had Devin Ebanks getting a couple of starts, with him on the floor, more than 55 minutes of court time in those 2 games, and the Lakers plus 23 during that span. So even though his offensive game isn't quite there, he certainly made a positive contribution for L.A. since being inserted in the starting lineup. The question is whether opposing teams are going to realize this guy can't do anything on the offensive end and start playing a little 4-on-5 defense, letting Mr. World Peace do whatever it is that he wants to do on the offensive end, because he sure as heck isn't making a whole lot of shots. Both teams in a somewhat of an awkward scheduling spot. Denver's going to be playing 3 games in 3 nights. This is the middle game of those 2. And while we've seen teams form surprisingly well against the spread on the 3rd out of 3, that middle game tends to be the one where teams struggle. Now, the Nuggets did manage their minutes very well in yesterday's rout over the Clips, but still, from a scheduling standpoint, Carl's got to manage his minutes tonight as well for tomorrow's game. And the Lakers, well, after traveling and playing in Denver this evening, they got another altitude game in another house of horrors for L.A. over the years, Utah, tomorrow. So both coaches are going to have to manage their minutes rather carefully in this one.
So those issues keep us from going much stronger in the Denver matchup. But here's where we can go to the basket tonight. Play of the daytime, give us Philadelphia +2 against Miami. Philadelphia playing with good basketball chemistry. Miami isn't. But when you hear the Heat players and coaches both talking about karma and the basketball gods, here's a sign of a team that's maybe lost its confidence a little bit, has lost some of that swagger, and they should have. They're not really that good. 2 teams with equal records, and one's taking points at home, where one beats the other defensively, rebounding. No, give us the +2 with Philadelphia as the Friday play of the day.
When we come back, we're going to shift our focus to the weekend college hardwoods. Money Time, Part 2, up next.
Traditional media believes that after about 3 minutes, you'll tune out. Most Vegas media companies think if it doesn't jiggle, you won't tune in. At the Vegas Video Network, we think both are wrong. The Vegas Video Network is the first and only live online broadcast network that specializes in insider news and expert views about Vegas. We combine great storytelling with the ability to watch when and where you want on your computer, mobile device, or television. Discover the real Las Vegas. Visit VegasVideoNetwork.com.
Let's start the weekend off in Madison, Wisconsin, where the Ohio State Buckeyes look ahead line about -1 on the road against this Badgers team. And, we saw a comeback for the ages when these 2 teams met on this floor last year. Ohio State up 47-32 with about 13 minutes left in that ballgame. And then Jordan Taylor, well, he went nuts. He scored 21 points down the stretch. Wisconsin with a 39-20 run out. And they escape with the 4-point victory. More of the same tomorrow, Dave, or are we going to see something different this time around?
That literally was a game for the ages to watch last year. So much drama because the shots Taylor were making were unstoppable. It's just one of those cases where a guy got into a rhythm, got that special feeling, and played with a special determination. That was a one-guy thing, making special plays. Keep in mind, as Teddy said, Ohio State was up 15 on this court with 13 minutes to play. So what happened in the rematch at Columbus? 93-65. They got up. They stayed up. Because a lot of times when you're looking at revenge games, you like to lay points with a team that blew a lead the first time. Because if they get the lead again, there's that reminder in their minds. You know what? Those guys came back at us. We better seal the deal. When we add up those 2 games from last year, something almost mind-boggling. Ohio State shoots 57 for 93. That's 61.3% against the Bo Ryan defense. They sliced it up. Well, you know what? The matchups might even be better this time for Ohio State's offense against this Wisconsin defense. So if they could be up by 15 on this court and win by 28 on their own court last year with maybe better matchups, yeah, Bo Ryan's tough at home. He's got some work to do, doesn't he?
And Bo Ryan, we talk about how tough Wisconsin is at home. Not lately. What have they done? 1-4 against the spread at home in Big Ten play. Straight up losses on this floor already to Marquette, Iowa, and Michigan State. Ohio State with extra prep time. With Wisconsin team sluggish in their last game at Penn State. Not a fresh squad at this stage of the season. Ohio State plus 77 rebounds in 9 Big Ten games. Wisconsin only plus 3 on the boards in 10. Look at the assist-to-turnover ratio. Ohio State defense in Big Ten play. They've allowed 79 assists and forced 145 turnovers. For the Badgers, they've given up 83 assists, only forced 85 turnovers. The stats show it. The results show it. Ohio State, the better of these 2 teams.
Let's go to Saturday night, Columbia, Missouri, where we might see possibly the best crowd of the entire college basketball season. We're going to project Missouri to be about a 2-point favorite. This may be the last meeting of what they call the border war in Columbia for quite some time. Going their separate ways this year, Missouri is going to be in the Southeast Conference. That means a lot because it's the 266th meeting between these rivals. That's a lot of games. How big of the passion is going to be there? Well, first, ESPN will be there for College Game Day, which brings that extra level in. But to celebrate maybe the last home game against Kansas for quite some time, Missouri Athletic Association had a great promotion. Give us the 3 best reasons why you're not a Jayhawk. We're going to give you a free ticket. Had a lot of fun with that. We wanted to read some of them on the air, but the best ones, even in the internet, weren't quite comfortable reading. But maybe the best, most passionate crowd of the whole season tomorrow night.
And, Missouri, this is a really good basketball team. They kind of gone under the radar in many ways, despite being ranked in the top 10 for a good portion of the season. It's an undersized roster, and they play small ball. 4 guards and a forward in the starting lineup, but we're also talking about 4 seniors among those 5 starters. They're number 2 in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio, really getting the job done when it comes to creating opportunities without making mistakes doing so. They're number 5 in the nation in turnover margin. They're number 7 in steals, continuing, quick hands, deflecting passes. They get opposing teams out of rhythm. And boy, when they get those fast break opportunities, that Missouri team takes care of business. And what else does Missouri do? They make free throws, 79.6% in conference play thus far. And that allows them to close out close games with spread covering victories. When you hit those clinching free throws, you end up winning games and covering spreads. And, here in conference play, every game at home for Missouri, a double-digit victory. Might not be quite so easy against the Jayhawks, though. Huh, Dave?
There are a lot of elements that would get us to Missouri here. When we talk about, and when a pressing team has a good crowd behind them, you sort of like that. It can intimidate the opposition. Problem is Kansas won't be intimidated. And the one weakness Missouri has inside, here comes Thomas Robinson. And one of the things we were looking for and we didn't find on the Super Bowl prop sheets, Thomas Robinson props, he's got a chance to go off for a lot of numbers here. Robinson, National Player of the Year candidate, 17.6 a game and 12 rebounds a game, 37 assists, 27 block shots, 27 steals. Those assists and steals counts are really high for a guy his size. Missouri doesn't have a counter. So in an up-tempo game, he's got a chance at a 30-20. You easily could see him get 30 points, 20 rebounds. No one offered that prop. There's almost a chance that Robinson, if you did all his stats, points, rebounds, and assists, could almost threaten the over-under for the Super Bowl. Maybe not quite that much, but it could be fairly close. So, Missouri's got edges that we like. They will take the ball away from Kansas. They'll get into the open court. But the fact that they can't stop Robinson and also can't give fouls away, and that's one of the problems when you don't have a lot of depth up front. How do you stop a guy like Robinson? You hack him, you send him to the free throw line, you make him earn it. Missouri doesn't have those fouls. They almost have to give away some dunks. So, we're going to look Missouri a little, but not a lot. But that's okay because by the time that tips off, we're already going to have some money in our pockets.
Absolutely. Play of the day time for the weekend preview edition in college hoops. We're going to take a look at those Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State minus the small spot. Again, this is a look-ahead line. The number could come a little bit higher. Projecting the Buckeyes in the -1 range. We'll see where the number actually comes. But frankly, Ohio State's worth a look in my mind at -3 or shorter. At -1, Ohio State the better team on any floor. And Wisconsin not enjoying the same type of home court advantage this year that they've had in seasons past. That's going to wrap it up for the weekend edition. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us. For Malinsky, I'm Savransky. We'll see you at the Super Bowl party at Caesars tonight, if you're here in Las Vegas. If not, we'll see you on Monday.